Do you have a strategy, or are you just stuck with a sack of tactics that you think is a strategy? Well, that's our topic today on the Do It Now show. And our guests, as always, are hosts, co hosts, whatever you want to call them. John Paduchak over there from New Hampshire, where it's
That's
getting
me.
dark.
Dark
and
and cold.
down, and yeah, dark and cold. And down below, the guy in the know, straight from space, Dr. Kayvon K.
Hello, hello, hello.
Profit
Can you hear
finder.
me? Can you hear me? Can you hear
Profit
me?
finder and
Yes.
simplifier and
Yes.
not a
What else
liar.
is
Good to see you guys again.
Joke teller. All
And
right,
I like that topic.
let's. Can
joke
you dig
teller?
it? Well, since you like that topic,
The
what do you
joke
want to say
teller
about
part's debatable.
strategery? W used to say strategery.
Strategery.
John had
Like
a good explanation the other day. Can
Hey,
you
go for it.
I had a
Can you
great
recount it?
explanation. Well, I probably it would be good to start a
A
little
little
story
volume up.
as to what's that?
You need a little more volume. You sound like
Oh,
you're in space.
well, let me move my microphone because I think it's behind something here a little bit.
Mr.
Is
Microphone.
my volume okay?
Yeah, your volume's great.
Mine,
John
mine.
was sounding like he was.
Is that better?
Oh, far better.
Oh,
my
there
God.
you
Oh,
go.
geez.
Hugely different.
Ugh.
See, sound is a tactic, but it's important in your overall strategy for video marketing.
That's very true. So we had a little discussion the other day, and we were talking about tactics and strategies.
Yes.
And the person that we were chatting with was doing a Kickstarter, and we're explaining that a Kickstarter is okay, but it's a tactic, just like video is a tactic. Facebook ads are a tactic. We're kind of caught up in a world of tactics.
Yes.
And one of the things that we had decided to do this year is really focusing on much more on business strategy for both ourselves and our clients. And so strategy is much more of who's your avatar, or who are you trying to attract. What
What are your values? What are your goals?
goals? What
what is your
tactics?
whole business all about?
What tactics fit into that strategy?
Mm-hmm.
And all of those things. And so it got us in that conversation. And it's funny, but we're saying that most people are sold a tactic, sold on the tactic of Dr. K. You really need to start doing some Facebook ads or some YouTube ads.
Yeah.
And that may be true, but maybe
Why?
that's well. And here's the thing: it may be true, but it might not be right for your business strategy overall,
Or it
Mhm.
might not be for you. So it's
or it
the
might
whole
not even
notion.
be for you.
The whole notion is, let's say that you really need a saw to accomplish that particular tactic to accomplish cutting wood, but you're being sold a hammer.
Yeah.
And
Right.
and to be able to saw the wood with a hammer, that's going to take a really long time.
Well,
Really
that's a
long
good
time.
analogy. Like I need
Mm,
to cut wood. That's
Yeah.
the strategy. But
exactly.
tactic could be a saw, could be an axe.
Karate chop.
Yeah, it could be karate
Could be
chop.
that. Could be that.
Whatever, or hire an army of beavers.
Mm,
So
Not a bad tactic.
there are many ways to cut wood, but cutting wood would be the strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, one of the things that people get trapped in is that most agencies will just sell people services, as opposed to really being a trusted advisor, doing a deep dive and consulting with them. And that's why John and I have been moving towards a much more consultative advisory capacity, not necessarily always fulfilling people's orders.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. And at the same time, that except it's an advisory agency, that is an agency, right? Being
It is.
specialized in some tactic.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I don't think there is anything wrong with them just doing that or selling their tactics. It's up to us to make sure that the tactics that we buy are aligned with our strategy, right?
With our strategy. Correct.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
mean, the other thing that we really were talking about the other day is I think if we were to go out and we were to ask most people, when is the last time somebody went end to end through your business from front to back and just took a look at it overall and whether the strategies that you're utilizing make sense?
Or even if you have a strategy,
or even if you have
you
one,
just
which
have what I
ones are you
called
putting
earlier
on
a
there?
sack of tactics.
Yeah.
Psychotactics. I like
Right.
that.
I
Yes.
mean, and the other thing you often hear me talk about is corporate culture, and
Mm.
corporate culture can fit into a strategy because
Mhm.
maybe your strategy is to improve the lives of your employees
Yeah.
as well. So I mean, there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle.
Well, in
Yes.
corporate culture, say for Dannon, would corporate culture be yogurt?
It could be.
Maybe cultures. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yes, of course.
It could be.
Yes.
But
No pun is missed by Dr. Vogelmann.
There is no pun wasted.
no pun
No
wasted
pun
here.
wasted.
For
No
sure.
pun.
No pun
Never
will be
missed.
undone.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to the day that we get to the like a two-level meta level pun about puns.
Meta. Do I have this thing?
So,
That'd be
Yes,
interesting.
I do. One of my favorite books, by the way. The Pun Also Rises.
oh my God.
Oh,
It's about the
perfect.
history of puns and how good they are in explaining culture.
Yeah.
Anyway,
They are
enough
good
on
at
that.
explain culture.
Well, I mean, the thing is, and so, but you think about it, most people, you look at any average business that's out there, and the average CEO, let's say that they're, I don't know, maybe $750,000 to $2 million or $5 million in annual revenue. Pretty much, they just collect an entire group of tactics, bundle
much.
them together, and say, "Yes, I have a strategy. I do
Yeah.
Facebook
Right.
ads. I do YouTube. I do TikTok."
I do this. I
Now,
do
is that your strategy?
Is that even appropriate for your audience?
Might not be.
Yeah.
It might not be.
We have some
And-
comments.
Oh, we
had
do?
some comments. Oh, I missed
Yes.
the comment.
Oh,
I hope
nice.
it's not anybody rude from last
I
time.
No.
know.
Yeah, let me pull them up here. There we go. A Facebook user. Okay. Saying it's just a matter of time before Dr. Kate went into space. Oh,
I
yes.
made
Oh,
it.
yes.
I made it.
Clearly.
And minus 1 point to House Vogelmann for excessive bunning.
Do we know who that
Okay.
is?
Oh, no, I don't know who this is, but I'll find out. I'm
No
gonna hunt
idea,
you
but
down.
I would
I'm
agree
going to
that
hunt you down.
There's a lot of excessive punning over here.
Excessive planning.
Extremely excessive.
Hey,
So
I've got,
one thing
I've got
to
literature to back me up, so I'm okay. Just
What-
remember, buy
you go.
it today.
Oh, it's
Another
it's
minus
Cousin
1 point.
Dean.
Oh, Cousin Dean, of course.
Oh, hello.
The
Dean.
Deanster. Yeah, because you didn't give, I guess you don't, oh, he doesn't give permission for people to know who he is.
Well,
What
cousin
he's doing.
Dean, come join us if
You
are
could
free.
come join. I can send you a link, Cousin Dean.
He
if
likes
you're on
to
the
be
Book of
stealthy.
Faces. I'll do that. I'll do that now
Yeah.
while you guys talk. Talk amongst
Yes.
yourselves.
So here is sometimes
Yeah.
tactic and strategies, they are harder to separate, distinguish from each other. So one of the things that I like to always talk about is think about strategies,
Mhm.
the ones that they don't change. Let's say you have a strategy for 2023.
Mhm.
You stick with the same strategy, but how you achieve that through this tactic or that tactic, that might change. So
That may
tactics are the
change
ones that they are
substantially.
much shorter.
Correct.
Yes, they might work, might not work towards creating an end result, which is our strategy. So having distinguishing between what changes and what needs to change. Basically, what do we call that? The a fixed and variable.
Mm.
Tactics are variable and strategies are fixed until we
Until you
go to
change your strategy.
until we go to another
Until you
retreat
fix it.
in
Well, and it
Cancun
seems-
and come back with a new strategy.
Exactly.
And it seems like so frequently people are constantly being sold on a tactic
Yeah.
and really don't even know what their strategy is in many cases.
Yes.
So to give you an example of what kind of brought this on as an idea for us the other day, we had one of our mastermind meetings, a group that Dr. V and I belong to, and two of the guys there are college professors. I mean, they do a lot of teaching of social media, etc., all around. One of them specializes in strategy and tactics of in his classroom, and one of the people in the group was saying that I'm doing a Kickstarter campaign for a product that I've been working on.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure who the target audience should be. Well, boom, we're already off in the wrong track
Yeah.
because we're on a tactic.
We
We're not
picked a
even sure if
tactic
that
without picking a business.
Exactly.
exactly. We're not even
Yeah.
sure if that tactic is going to achieve our strategy. So it's funny. So over the last couple of days, I've had a talk with a friend of mine who's a market researcher.
Yeah.
And we just did a little bit of walking through. Okay, this is what the product is, and does it even make sense for the audience it's being presented to?
Mm-hmm.
And all these other things. I don't dare say what the product is. Yeah, because I don't want to blow things up or say too much. But it was very interesting what my market researcher friend said, who was Andrew Burns, by the way,
Mm.
and she said, the question really is, at the end of the day, it's pretty easy to define your target market. It's pretty easy to then figure out the strategies that are going to meet that,
Mm-hmm.
or even whether their product makes sense for that market. But the real question is going to be, was it going to cost me to reach that target market
Yes.
and fulfill that strategy?
Hello,
That's what the
cousin
real
Dean.
question is going to be.
Speaking of fulfilling strategies, it's
There he
the
is.
illustrious Dean Way, W-A-Y-E, of Way Creative, and he's way cool.
Yeah.
Way
Hello.
cool.
He's
Hello.
totally cool.
Good to see you, Dean.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
We're talking
Thanks for having us.
strategery versus tactics and how people think that their tactics, their sack of tactics.
They fall
as a
into
strategy.
the trap of constantly being barraged by one tactic after another.
Yes, because they worry about the tools.
It's like an
Mhm.
epidemic.
An
Let's see
epidemic?
here.
A
It's an
pandemic?
epidemic. Pandemic. I don't know. Could be
It's
either.
not a pandemic.
But
Well,
you're definitely constantly being
Pandemic
barraged.
is an epidemic that goes global.
Well, then this probably fits.
Well, everybody's
fits my
trying to
business.
sell you a tactic
I don't think
So-
anybody's
Knocking on-
trying to sell you a tactic in North Korea.
Yeah.
in North Korea.
So, so I don't think it's pandemic.
How's the
Yeah,
internet
probably
doing
not.
in Pyongyang?
Yang.
Hard to pronounce
I
it.
don't know.
Yes.
I have
So,
relatives in South
at the
Korea
same
now.
time, choosing a strategy, selling a strategy, sticking with a strategy, clarifying a strategy, those are all much harder than
much higher.
choosing a tactic, selling a tactic,
Right.
sticking with a tactic. And that's so that's the more of a harder to define part of the business that not everybody can do it really well, or
Right.
if they can sell it until it's really understood by your target market and they are asking for it, they want it, they have done that kind of work before. It is something that many times for me it goes to the category of sell them what they want, give them what they need, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. So Dean,
Mhm.
you deal with establishing the foundation of what somebody needs before you do any
Yeah.
copywriting for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with strategy is that, as far as learning it or describing it, is that
Mhm.
so much of it is military based, where
Mm.
honestly it makes a lot more sense.
Mhm.
And there's not much of it. It's so different strategy for business.
Right.
For one thing, you just in business, it's really not possible to go and like wipe out your competitor. It's very rare, right?
Well, you could get in trouble for doing.
Yeah.
Well, define wipeout.
Well,
Annihilate.
Microsoft versus Netscape.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's one of the rare examples of wipeout, right? It
Mhm.
just they're gone.
Flatten them.
Yeah.
Or the Queen's Gambit, you have chess moves where you can wipe out your
Right.
opponent.
And that's the other right. So much of strategy comes down to here's what we would do in a battle or a war, and here's what we would do in a game with confined by definition. If it's a game, it has a set of
Constraints,
rules.
yeah.
There's constraints,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And whereas business is so multivariate that trying to just like honestly trying to like describe business strategy is like trying to nail Jello to a wall.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just as fast as you can do it, something has changed.
Mhm.
If you don't add water to it, you can nail that box to the wall.
yeah,
That's what I found.
But
Not
do you
very
have
tasty,
Jello?
Oh, that's the box of Jello.
I know, but you don't have Jello. You have a box.
My
Yeah, and
box that
powder.
says Jello.
That says
Do
Jello
I
on it,
not
yeah.
believe the label on the box?
If I'm going to go to the category or the realm of believing things, I don't even need the box.
Yeah,
What box?
Yeah.
It's like, what spoon?
What's
right.
going?
I mean, I always go as simple as possible, right? You guys have seen a lot of my stuff. You participate in a lot of my stuff. I like to boil it right down to first principles. If I don't understand first principles, I don't feel like I have it. Like I don't have it, right? And I think the best first principles I ever saw for strategy were from that book by Rummelt. This is maybe 10, 12 years ago, the Good Strategy, Bad Strategy book.
Hmm.
And like the second half of that book is basically junk. But the first half of that book is gold. And the way he lays it out is like basically a strategy starts with you have a definition of a challenge, what you're trying to do, right? Or what you're trying to solve.
Mhm.
You have like a guiding policy, because similar to rules in a game, right? You have to have some kind of guardrails. Like this is our guiding policy. If it doesn't agree or further this, we're not going to worry about it because we can't do everything. And so, like, what's the challenge? What's your guiding policy? And then start putting together a set of coherent actions to implement the policy. And that's as far as you get, as far as concrete in business, because there's just way too many variables after that. And then everything else just becomes tactics.
But you can still create systems. Would the system be a tactic? Like if you have a marketing system, an SOP, we go from, A to Z.
Right. The system is the collection of tactics.
Right.
And the system what's in the system is the tactics. And the purpose of the system is to further the sort of guiding policy for how you're going to approach this problem. And I generally hate Steve Jobs' life examples and quotes. But as part of the book, he did have the author had a discussion with Jobs way back in the day, like way back when he had just taken over and Apple again and the iPod. So they sort of came out with the sort of, the MacBook desktop ones that look like they're half made out of like colored plastic on LSD. And then
I love those.
right. And then they came up with the not the AirPod. What's the
The
iPod?
iPod, yeah.
The
The iPod Touch later.
Right. Right. And so between the time of after sort of turning the company around enough that they had revenue coming in from the weird colored Macs, and before they had come up with the idea of the iPod, that he asked Jobs, what was like your strategy right now? And he says the strategy, like the challenge is Apple needs the next big thing. And the guiding policy is simply this: conserve cash and wait for the next big thing. And when we see it, then we put it together a set of coherent actions and we go after it. And that's what they did with the iPod, which of course led them to the iPad and then the iPhone. Like you guys probably know that the iPad was actually invented first, but the iPhone was released years before the iPad. But the iPhone is basically just a shrunk down iPad.
Yeah.
Right.
That happened to be a cell phone, right? So they were already working on like the flat tablet-y kind of thing and the capacitive glass and touchscreens and all that kind of stuff, but on a larger scale. And so, like, that's exactly what Jobs did, right? He knew the challenge. He wanted Apple to survive and then sort of take off. He knew that for now, all he could do as far as a policy was conserve cash and wait. That's why he cut all the product lines. He started really shutting down divisions, shutting down factories, firing all kinds of people, right? And just conserve and sort of husband that cash as long as he could. And then when they finally came across the opportunity for the iPod, which is an interesting story in its own. Basically, it was a solution looking for a problem, right? Blockchain for a long time was a solution looking for a problem. Other than crypto, there was no use for blockchain, but now there's all kinds of interesting uses for it. Basically, they found a solution looking for a problem because their partner Toshiba had come up with a very tiny hard disk, like an actual hard disk. It wasn't like a memory card like you have today, but it could hold, I forget how many, hundreds of megabytes, which they turned into 1,000 songs. Like that's the people, right?
Right.
Like Toshiba had this solution to a problem that they had the solution. They didn't know what it was going to solve. And then the Apple guys look at it and say, I know a problem that could solve. And then that's when they started putting in their sort of, coherent set of actions to exploit the opportunity before anyone could catch them.
Right. So you have 3M's adhesive that they turned eventually into Post-it notes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. What's the point of an adhesive that doesn't stick very well?
It's bad. It's
right?
bad adhesive.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly the kind of like upside down thinking, Dr.
Yeah.
V, that you and I did. Was it last week?
Yeah.
Was it last week?
Mhm.
Yeah, it was last week. Might have been last week. Yeah, it was last week.
Yeah.
Right. Where we've got sort of this gap that most small, tiny businesses fall in between. They can't really do full on marketing and can't really do full on sales prospecting. And the gap and the upside down thinking was, don't try to climb out of it. Let's pull people down into the gap with us.
As they say in the clothing business, fall into the gap.
Yeah.
Right. That got
Right.
me thinking as you were going through that too, because I remember I went to a trade show, and at the time Graham Nash was one of our clients, and Graham comes in with this little tiny DAT that was about the size of a wristwatch,
Mhm.
and that could have easily been the idea or predecessor for the iPod. Never
Yeah.
even thought of it until you just said that. So
I still have my Newton. Does that count? One of the original PDA.
No. That's one of the first things he killed.
I know, which is why I
Yeah.
couldn't get any support for it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, Dr. K, what's your take on strategy with your clients? Because you do profit finding and simplification, and when you're looking for profits, what's the dealio? What kind of questions do you ask people?
Well, it depends where the client and I meet, because sometimes there are so many things going on that we need to
Like
work
when you
on
meet
them.
in space. Yeah.
We're like meeting in space, and somebody also again commented on me being from space. So I guess this is the winner background for me then from now on.
For you.
Yes. So here's the thing.
Right.
Space Cadet.
Call me
a
Buzz.
Post-it note lover too, so that's why everything is coming together here.
Yep.
Whoop,
Yep.
Get out of there.
So going back to we are being sold the tactics all the time.
Mhm.
Imagine the business is like a bucket that you want to fill with water,
Mhm.
and the tactics that we are being sold is pour more water, more leads, more sales, more revenue, pour more water. But if there are holes in the bucket, what's the point of putting all of that? So much of it goes to waste. So if in the initial assessment with the client we discover some holes, I'm not going to even talk about strategy. Let's plug the holes first, right? And cut the waste that is going away. So
well, those weren't those were like the really loose holes that you had to make tighter. Is that correct?
is that a pun or
No, that was
that
a reference to prior to going live. Anyway,
no.
good.
So here, and also the hierarchy of paying attention to what's going on. Sometimes the fires that we have to put out again take priority over strategy conversation. Like there is no point in having a conversation about profitability if there isn't enough sales. So let's fix the sales situation first, then we go to profitability, and then we go to making it more systematic. Again, those conversations are relevant, but they have their own time. There is this saying about strategy that a good strategy implemented at the wrong time is a bad strategy, and to the same extent it applies to tactics too. So generally I like to make sure that we are ready for a strategy before even having a conversation about strategy, whether I be the person for that or somebody else is. So all of those things that we're being sold, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. It's a long do. You need to do all of these, and all of the things that they are not working are still there. Things that they are kind of working are still there. So before getting to the to-do list, I like to start with my client with the not to-do list, as in plugging the holes. What are the things that we are doing? They're not helping us. They are maybe even harming the business. We're better off not doing them at all. So what are the things that we have to stop doing? So stop doing list. The second list is things that we are doing and we need to do better. They are working, but let's optimize them. So the do better list, and eventually we get to the to-do list. So not to-do list or stop doing list, then do better list, then eventually to a to-do list. So that's my strategy of working with a client, because getting them to profitability for me works to from that kind of a step-by-step approach.
Sometimes
Does
too
that make
much-
sense?
Yeah, too much stuff on
Yeah.
your to-do list is makes a lot of doo-doo.
Hmm.
Probably. But I mean, one of the things too is that when you see somebody who has this giant list of things that they're doing that's not working, let's say, I'm wasting $1,000 a month on YouTube ads, or this is,
Yes.
I've got no return whatsoever from what I'm doing with my SEO guy, or things like
Yeah.
that. The
Elizabeth
question
just
is,
made a comment about that actually.
yeah, the thing is,
Yeah.
do you need that particular thing? It might not be in harmony with your strategy.
It
Mhm.
might not. Or buying too much
There you go.
software
Yeah,
on
that's
The
apps
one
too.
before this.
Oh, the one before. Well,
Yeah.
we got some active people. I like that.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Why
Ah,
does it
from
say everyone is just
Elizabeth. There you
Facebook
go,
user?
Elizabeth. Thank you. Elizabeth is a gem. All right, we got that. Right there. Whoop. There we go. Phew.
Yes.
Man, I don't have that much experience highlighting and deleting, or
So this is
unhighlighting
Melon,
comments.
huh? Never
We've got
used it
some-
before.
We got
I
active
don't know. Is there a way for us to co-host this? So like,
co-host.
as in, I help out with the comments coming on. You
I
don't have to do
think
everything.
There
so you don't have to
might
do
there
everything.
might be, but I don't know. We'll have to investigate that. I mean, you
Yeah,
have
we
the
test that
Melon
later.
app. Why don't you ask support, Dr. K?
Okay. Sure.
I haven't figured that out yet in looking. I mean, I know I can see the comments,
Yeah.
but it won't let me.
It's almost like, it reminds me of
Oh.
sometimes people have Zooms and you can see that they have two, it's the same person in both accounts, but they actually have a VA or somebody
Right.
assisting them managing everything as a co-host. But I don't know if it's
Yes.
sophisticated enough to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe.
All
Going
right.
back to
So
our discussion.
no, it's back.
You were
back
talking
meanwhile.
about the ads and wasting money on them.
Yeah, ads. And sometimes people, they just do something because other people are doing them. Like, for example, when I was in
Right.
practice back in DC, I spent easily $4,800 a month in the early 90s, which is probably equivalent to $9,600 a month right now in advertising. And I was in the yellow pages because everybody else was in the yellow pages. Why shouldn't I be in the yellow pages when every other chiropractor is there? So a lot of other people are doing coupons. Why wouldn't I want to do Valpak and Money Mailer and all these other things like that? And it's one of those things where a salesman comes into the office and says, hey, you need to do this. Maybe your competitors are not doing it, or you need to do this. And it became very confusing after a while too. I was in the Hispanic yellow pages, and then I was doing TV commercials on Univision and things like that. And since I was the first chiropractor to do commercials on TV in that area, it did work really well. But then everybody starts doing a Me Too type of thing relative to,
Right.
it becomes, that particular medium becomes really crowded and very ineffective.
Becomes a
Very
bloody
true.
ocean.
And my practice was built on a series of tactics all sewn together with baling wire and bubble gum.
Mm. It's funny you talking about that. I know of a real estate guy locally. We see all these signs out now. I buy homes and all this,
Yeah.
and he's been doing all kinds of real estate commercials on TV, and very tactic driven. So as far as I know from talking to him, his business lacks a lot of strategy, but it's very tactic driven. But it's a tactic that works for him. So he hasn't quite, deciphered the difference between the two, or why he needs anything else but a tactic.
Would be like putting your face on benches at the bus stops.
It's like whatever works. Sometimes we
Yeah.
get caught up in whatever works. Like, ooh, that's working for somebody else. Maybe that would work for me, but it's just not. But it might not work for you at all. It might not get to your target audience. It might be completely useless to you.
Yeah, where are you going to find those eyeballs? Where are they hanging out?
Exactly. And that's
Speaking
part
Well,
of
the strategy in his
Bravo.
case is that I'm going to be a local realtor.
yeah,
So therefore, all of those tactics make sense. But another realtor could be,
somewhat.
I only sell, I don't know, pre-sell condos. So there is no advertisement. It's just his tactics would be, how can I connect with developers a lot more and get a Rolodex of people and that kind of thing. So it's not about that. So whether he has intentionally or hasn't, he has a strategy. and that's the trap. Many of
It
us,
is.
because we're gonna be conforming with some sort of a strategy, and many times it's bad and incoherent and all of that. So let's clarify that and point it to a specific target.
Is incoherentstrategies.com available, John?
You don't want to buy that domain.
I don't want to buy that one. Okay, good. I'm glad.
The example you had earlier about the yellow pages reminded me of a story from, I think it was like guerrilla marketing from back in the day, Jay Levinson and that.
Sure.
Where he talked about how there's like a local pizza place, instead of spending money on advertising in the yellow pages, what they did is, if you tore out from your own yellow pages or from a phone booth when they exist, or anyone, if you went and tore out competitors' yellow pages ad and you brought it into them, they would use it as a coupon and give you like $5 off.
That's great. I thought you were going to say give you a free slice.
Crazy, because they were paying for all these yellow pages ad. People were just cheering them out, and no one
That
else.
is guerrilla marketing at its best.
Yep.
Yes.
That
There is a question in the comment.
Oh, thank you.
Best Friday advice, if you want to bring it up. And I thought that it's a question that I guess we can all take turns. So, best Friday advice for a small business owner.
Ooh.
So, who wants to go first?
Weekends exist for a reason. Go recharge.
There you go.
That's very good Friday advice.
It is very easy to work every day.
Okay, bye everyone.
And we're out.
Very, very specific for Friday. That's good.
I would say
answer.
Ask a bunch of questions yourself and see if you can answer them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And following that, my question is, on Friday, I can ask myself, what is one thing that I can work on or achieve next week, such that by doing it, I make everything else easier or unnecessary.
Nice.
Sleep instead of going to CrossFit.
I was just going to go
during the week.
There you go. I was just going to go along the flow with this broadcast, because one of the things that we found in the group that we were working with the other day is most people just have no idea what the difference is between a tactic and a strategy, and go through and just kind of look at your own business and see what are the tactics you're using, and what's the strategy behind using those tactics, and define those two things. Like, what is a tactic? What is a strategy? And then see
and
how
are they all aligned to the same direction? Maybe some tactics.
Yeah, they might not be.
Yeah.
Because now we've talked about it a little bit, and so go and kind of take a look and say, okay, this is a strategy we're trying to do. We're trying to reach this audience. We're trying to do that strategy stuff. I'm doing Facebook ads. I'm failing miserably at it, but I'm doing them.
I should be rewarded just by the act of doing them.
Yeah, and that's not true. Certain tactics will work better for your business than others. So maybe look at the tactics that you're using now and say, hey, you know what? This is a valuable tactic. This does work, or this works a little bit. This one works like gangbusters. This one doesn't work at all. This is just something somebody, convinced me into doing, and I really shouldn't be doing that.
Are you looking for the Goldilocks of tactics relative to your strategy? Like, this one is just right.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, because here's the thing: if for a certain goal, let's say getting more leads, which seems to be the most popular goal, there are 3 or 4 strategies in a business. Are they all working? Are you completely taking advantage of them? Are you better off shutting 3 of them off and focus on one that you think is a winner, and just focus on that for a good amount of time, like the whole 2023, and really dominate with that one?
That reminds me so much. So John and I teach, so in our little strategic video masters group, we talk mostly about using short form video, TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. And you have to ask yourself the question, where is my audience? Should I be spending all my time on TikTok? Should it be on Instagram? Should I be hanging out on YouTube? Where is my audience? Who's going to respond to these short form videos? And do I do all of them, or do I pick one?
Yeah. And then what's a call to action that's going to reach my ideal perfect customer? Because there is going to be a call to action that's going to be perfect for them. And that's knowing who your avatar is or who you're trying to talk to.
And we're getting thanks
Excellent.
for those questions.
You're welcome.
There you
You're
go.
welcome,
And
yeah.
Dr. V, what you just said, I guess it's a great segue to our next episode. Dude, where's my audience?
Dude, wow, that's a great. Have you decided that this is our next episode? Because I can
Yeah.
do it. I'll
I
put
like
the
that.
thumbnail and the description together.
Yeah,
There you go. No,
Dude,
I think
where's
that's
my
I think
audience?
that's I
That
think that's
sounds great.
perfect. You know,
So,
one last thing.
yeah.
One of the things that I found very interesting in talking to Andrea the other night was that she said the real thing at the end of the day is, what is it going to cost you to reach this new audience?
Hmm.
And then different tactics obviously are going to give you different results and probably cost you more or less to reach an audience. It's kind of like if we were going to go out, any of us, and compete with Coca-Cola. You know, they get the market pretty well cornered. You know, you're going to spend an awful lot of money to compete with Coke, right? It just is what it is. So that's another huge consideration, is how much money am I going to spend to really compete with this and take over this audience? It's kind of like you and I when we first started doing Facebook ads, right? We were thinking, oh yeah, we can do Facebook ads very reasonably, and it's all going to work out great. And some people have deeper pockets than others.
Right.
We didn't have as deep a pockets as some of our friends did.
Not at
because
that time.
they're
I mean, the idea was, okay, good. We're going to spend 1,000, make 5,000.
Yeah.
Spend 5,000 and you made like a few hundred or zero.
Right. Yeah. So the important thing is to kind of go, hey, you know what? This tactic might work for this friend of mine for this reason, but it's not going to work for me because, you know, my pockets are a little shallow, or I'm a little light on cash right now, or whatever it might be. But that typically is a common one.
Well, but you're looking at this. This goes to the whole point of, you know, if you want fast growth, it's going to cost you money. If you have more time than money, you can do everything organically, but it's going to cost you a lot of time.
It's going to cost you some time.
And you have to make that decision, and whether or not it's going to fit with your overall strategy. When Stephen Covey,
when you make that decision, stick with it.
Yeah, everything has trade-offs.
I mean, when Stephen Covey intimidated me by staring me down at an event one time, you know, he just kept going on and on about beginning with the end in mind and the whole thing about writing your obituary. And I was like, I just started shaking. I started shaking in my seat because he wouldn't take his eyes off me. And yeah, just boy, and, you know, the big bald head type of thing, you know, it's intimidating to me. So that's why John wears a hat. Oh, geez. No. flashbacks. But the bottom line is, you know, when you're looking at creating a strategy, it's like, where do you eventually want to land? What do you want your future to look like? And Dean always talks about that, you know, the future, looking at the future and having your potential client as part of that future.
Yeah.
And right now, December is a perfect time to define that future for 2023.
Yeah,
it certainly is.
Without a doubt. Hey, any final thoughts as we wrap this thing up?
No, I think
you gave all the
pretty good job. Yeah.
I just like to repeat, whatever decision you make, stick with it, because we change tactics too often.
Yes,
and we even change strategies. Let's pick something that you're going to stick with it for the whole 2023.
Pick it and stick it. That's
what if it really doesn't work?
Then you move to Argentina and start a new business. That's my advice. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we know the vast majority of you watch this on replay. And so if you can please use the hashtag replay when making your comments or asking a question, or perhaps even making suggestions for future broadcasts, that would be great. And we will be returning once again at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on Friday, so that you can do it now. Ciao for now.